Okay. This was different, WB, I'll give you that. But I think it was a step in the right direction. I'm just not sure which direction that is. Riddle me this. What do you get when you have a talented, albeit weird AF writer-director tasked with doing a soft reboot of a movie that was kind of a hot mess to begin with, and drop him in the middle of a cinematic universe that, due to no consistent producer oversight and no one with any kind of cohesive vision steering the ship, has a completely aimless creative map, if it has one at all, and a tone that varies wildly from movie to movie? Well, if that writer-director is James Gunn, turns out you get something pretty cool, if very strange at times. Giant alien starfish? Sure, why not? There are some caveats that come along with that, though. The first Suicide Squad movie is pretty messed up. I actually ended up liking it more than I disliked it, but I don't think anyone's gonna say it didn't have a lot of problems. So how exactly do you make a sequel when the original was such an awkwardly slapped-together pile of so many different things? Well, apparently, you do it by throwing the rulebook out the window. It connects just enough of the dots between the first movie and this one to feel like a sequel instead of a blatant do-over, but in the broader context of the DCEU, this is very much its own thing. I don't see how it relates to any of the other movies, which, frankly, was a problem the first one had too. The first one just dropped all these brand new characters into Task Force X completely cold without introducing any of them. Now imagine how much more that movie would have meant if those characters had been set up in previous movies before they did Suicide Squad. Like, why did we meet Harley Quinn for the first time in that movie and not a Batman movie first? It just made no sense. Well, sure enough, they do the same thing here. There are a couple returning characters this time, but most of them are brand new again. And the main character is Bloodsport, basically a rewritten Deadshot, and he's in prison for putting Superman in the ICU with a kryptonite bullet. Wow, that sounds like a really big thing. Something that would have been pretty damn cool to see in a movie before we did this one, right? Well, TS, we don't get to see it at all. It happened off-screen, in between movies, and we only hear about it secondhand. Well, why even tease us with it then? Come on, guys. This is the kind of thing that just makes me shake my head. WB, how do you still not understand the piles and piles of money you keep leaving on the table by doing this stuff? If the studios still cared about the DCEU being an interconnected universe, that's out the window for this one. Like, I guess they weren't gonna do the movie without Harley Quinn, but they didn't set that up either, so she's just back in prison now like Birds of Prey never happened, and I don't know what Margot Robbie's doing, but she seems to give Harley a different accent in every movie. Just pick one and stick with it, Margot, please. So yeah, you get the sense that Walter Hamada, or whoever's calling the shots this week, was sitting back in his office at Warner Brothers Studios like, James, just do whatever, man. Oh, you want to kill all these characters off? Sure, go for it. As long as you bring in that sweet Guardians of the Galaxy money, I don't give a crap. But here's the thing about that. James Gunn is a weird fucking dude. So if you let him off the leash, what kind of movie do you think you're gonna end up with? I mean, it's definitely entertaining, but wow. On a technical level, everything here is a big step up from the first movie. The original Suicide Squad was made in a hurry with tons of studio interference, and you could tell. With this one, there's a lot more craftsmanship on display, the writing is witty, the direction is polished, the cinematography is beautiful, the action has definitely been taken up a notch. It does feel like it's trying to punch you in the face with the soundtrack a lot of the time, but overall, it's just a much better made film than the first one. The characters are likable. James Gunn is really good with ensemble casts, so everybody's got a lot of personality, they all get their own arcs, most of them are sympathetic so it hits you harder when they start dying, and James Gunn pulled off a minor miracle here by successfully rehabilitating Harley Quinn after the goddamn disaster that was Birds of Prey. He gets her into red, white, and black, so she finally looks like she's supposed to look. She's still not funny, which I think is due to Margot Robbie just not being very funny, but the movie accounts for that because the script and the direction are funny. It's not on Robbie to generate the laughs now, and the writing is smart enough that Harley is at least charming and fun again. And holy crap, was that a welcome change after Birds of Prey. James Gunn just pretends that movie didn't exist. Wish I could do that. Which is annoying in the sense that they just hit the retcon button and there's no explanation for why she isn't in that place in her life anymore, but her character's a lot better for it, with the exception of maybe one scene which felt unnecessary. That's the best trick the movie pulls off, making Harley likable again. The rest of the cast is a little more of a mixed bag. Bloodsport makes for a good lead, but he's basically Deadshot all over again, just a lot angrier than Deadshot was. He even has the same motivation, his daughter. I liked him, Idris Elba's great, but let's not kid ourselves about what this was. Polka Dot Man, Ratcatcher, King Shark, all very fun. Ratcatcher and King Shark in particular were surprisingly lovable. I was caught off guard by how endearing they were. Also, I liked Rick Flag better here than in the first one. He's more mellow this time, and I actually believe that him and Harley had become friends at this point. They don't have that many scenes together, but when they did I thought, hey, that's kind of nice. These two are cute. This is a fun relationship. John Cena as the Peacemaker is slightly different. He's good in the role. I think the costume they gave him was stupid. What were they thinking with that helmet, good God? But his performance is fine. Some of the stuff they have him do is messed up. I think they go way too dark with him at times, to the point where it beats the hell out of me how he's supposed to anchor his own HBO show now, because I can't imagine anyone wanting to root for this character after what he does here. And I know that comes with the territory. It's the friggin' Suicide Squad. They're not superheroes, that's the point. These are all very bad people. I understand that. So I wasn't expecting him to be nice or anything, but I don't know, man. They may have taken things a little too far with Peacemaker. And by extension, the entire movie is very unforgiving. I don't know if I'd call it mean-spirited exactly, but it is so relentlessly brutal that I felt like there should have been some kind of producer oversight to put a stop to this. Gone to James Gunn and told him, dude, this might not be in the best interest of the DC brand. Dial it back a little bit. You see full frontal nudity, male and female, skulls being cracked open, people getting ripped in half, massive body count, tons of gore, and in some cases, this stuff is played for laughs. But what greases the wheels somewhat is that James Gunn is very funny, and he knows how to do comedy, unlike the people who made Venom, for example. So there are cases where some pretty extreme violence is done for the sake of comedy, and you will probably laugh, but because of the nature of what's going on, you also might feel a little guilty about that afterward. Nevertheless, more often than not the comedy works, even in cases where on paper it probably shouldn't. But the thing that really didn't work for me was the Amanda Waller plot. For the first 2/3 of the movie, Waller's fine, but in the third act, she does some really stupid stuff that doesn't make any sense at all. And this is stuff I can't discuss without spoilers, so welcome back to the spoiler section. Okay, so in the climax, the mission is over, the objective has been achieved, the team is going home, but then they decide to go back and stop the giant alien starfish that's rampaging through the city and massacring innocent people by the hundreds. For some reason, Amanda Waller is totally against this. That's their problem. Those people. You guys come home or else. And she's ready to flip the switch and kill all of them over this, and I don't know why. The mission's already over at this point, so why does she even care if they go back? And does she understand that Starro is brainwashing an army of servants to do its bidding as they speak? Does she think Starro is gonna stop at Corto Maltese? This is a gigantic potential threat here that's gonna have to be dealt with by someone, and worst case scenario, Task Force X gets themselves killed, which Waller was about to do anyway, so what's the problem here? It just made no sense whatsoever, and I'm pretty sure it was only done so Waller's people could turn on her to set up her wanting to take revenge on them, which apparently is going to be a part of the Peacemaker show, which I didn't care about anyway, so that entire plot just felt tacked on to me. So I'm not saying the movie's flawless. I have some issues with Waller and Peacemaker, and someone at the studio probably should have stepped in to curtail some of James Gunn's weirder, darker impulses. I mean, if the first Suicide Squad had too much studio interference, I think think this one didn't have enough. But overall, there's a lot more good than bad here. I enjoyed watching it, which I can't always say about the DC movies. I won't say it fixed Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn completely, but this might have been the most I've liked her since she was introduced, and after Birds of Prey, that's no small feat. The humor might make you a little uncomfortable at times, but I can't say it's not funny. The direction is great, the script knows what it's doing, even if it does take an ill-advised turn here and there, and I have no idea how this fits in the bigger picture of the DCEU, but taken as its own thing, this was a lot of fun. I'd say it was a big step up from the first Suicide Squad, but if you're gonna see it, for God's sake, leave the kids at home. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought about The Suicide Squad in the comments. Ding that bell icon and follow me on social media so you'll always know when I upload new stuff. I also have a live streaming channel now. The links are down there. And most importantly, don't forget to thumbs up the video, share, subscribe, and make sure you're still subscribed, because what really deserves to be sent on a suicide mission with a bomb implanted in its skull so its head can be blown off if it steps out of line is the YouTube algorithm. That's all for now, but I'll be back with more soon. So stay tuned for that, do all the YouTube things, and I'll see you next time.